Kimberly, what an amazing, amazing story. And in one way, it's unfortunate that you had to go through something that painful. But on the other, it's like an opportunity to really look back and make a difference. Can you share with us a little bit how that event has really kind of shaped what you do today, and where do you apply what you're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it changed my life, and it changed the way that I practice medicine. I learned conventional, traditional medicine through, I went to medical school, and I learned how to make diagnoses and collect symptoms, and then put people into subspecialties and match them with the best drugs, and then manage the drugs that they're on for the best possible outcome. And having gone through what I just went through and told the story about, I realized how many layers there are to healing, and how vastly different the philosophy of treating symptoms is different from healing. And when you're healing, you have to acknowledge that the body has this divine, innate ability to do that. And I see my job now is to identify the systems that are under stress, offload the systems, and let the body magically do what it innately knows how to do and wants to do. And the biggest realization, having gone through all of this, is that if I had taken the drugs from the neurologist to cover up the symptoms, what a disservice it would have been to my body. Because that's the only way the body knows how to communicate. It gives you a symptom. And if I quieted those symptoms, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't have been able to heal, really heal.
So that's a really interesting way of looking at our own bodies, right? Like our own bodies, we're designed to live. We're designed for our hearts to continue beating so we can continue moving and living. And the way that it speaks to us is through showing us symptoms, like a sneeze or a cough or a pain or whatever. And no, not a lot of people think of it that way. I think a lot of Western medicine is like, okay, there's a symptom, push it away, off you go. But to really, truly understand like the source of where it's coming from, it goes against a lot of theories. It goes against a lot of, the entire industry is designed to put a lid on it, right?
Yeah. The flawed thinking is that this model works in the ICU, in the emergency department, in acute care situations. But when you're a primary care physician like I am, and I've done this for over 20 years, you see people come through the system and they're being treated as if they have an urgent problem. And that works for things like sinusitis or something quick. There's one problem, one drug solution. But when you're looking at chronic illness, things that people desperately want to recover from, if we cover up those symptoms, we're ignoring the root cause. And allowing the root cause to go unchecked means advancement of the disease and more drugs. So we need two different models. We need to keep our acute care model, but we also need a health creation model for people that are willing to put the work in. They're willing to change their lifestyle. They're willing to do the investigation to get to the root cause.
So my question for you is, you had this rare poisoning of taking regular antibiotics, right? This is kind of where how everything started. Prior to that, did you see, or did you, going through med school and all that, Did you feel any of this kind of innate calling coming through to you at all?
Yes.
You did?
So I think you spend so much time in medical school trying to prove that you can do it. You want to prove to yourself, and you want to prove to everybody on rounds. They're asking you questions that you know enough to be there. And so you're in the system and you're trying to really show your excellence at it. But then there comes the moment where you're actually in private practice and there's a patient sitting across from you. And you've done all of the training, you've looked everything up, you've managed their medications, and you think, they're not getting better. And we're not trained. We're not trained to look for the root cause, to really delve deep into so many things that we do in functional medicine, to really look for those body systems that aren't, that are the body systems that are under the most stress. And you come to this realization, I hope most people do, and what you do with it is, individual. Some people just push on, but some people will have this realization and think, there's got to be something more. And I think if we can step back from the dogma of medicine and just think as people, I don't have a drug deficiency, right? Most of the chronic illnesses are lifestyle illnesses. And if we can step back and say intuitively, there has to be more that we can do for the body than just, 15-minute visits and managing drugs. There has to be. And I hope other people will come to that realization. But that was mine. And I can remember the patient, and I just remember thinking, there's more to this. And I think that's when I took my first continuing medical education in alternative and integrative health.
So define functional medicine.
So functional medicine is looking for the root cause of illness, so going upstream. So rather than collecting the symptoms which are downstream from the injury or the system that's not, that's under a lot of stress, we put all of our resources into identifying how you can support the body. And the interesting thing that I've seen over the past couple of years is that it's amazing what the body is capable of. And sometimes you can't even predict. There's such an interconnectivity of all of the body systems that when you offload one, you can see drastic improvement in another. And that's not even looking at the psychosocial piece of it, looking at their emotional health and their energetic health and their mental health. If you're given enough time to really delve into that piece of it too, it's what my philosophy, I tell people, it's the ripple effect. So you get improvements in your emotional health when your physical health is better, and vice versa. So it's really identifying where's the stress that's upstream rather than waiting for the dysfunction downstream. And unfortunately, in traditional medicine, everybody is pretty much healthy enough until they're sick enough to be associated with a diagnosis, a disease, or a drug. And I love to focus on this. People who are in the gray zone. They're not optimally healthy, and they're not sick, and they don't feel their best, and they know something's wrong, but they haven't met the criteria for a diagnosis or a drug. And I also like the people just diagnosed because they still have a ton of reserve to reverse it early on.
So how do you plan on fulfilling your daughter's mission for you in terms of saving and healing the world?
When I was first injured by the antibiotic, I dug into as many resources as possible to try to figure out what does it mean to heal. Genesis 1:29, the summary is, God said, eat plants. So I did.
Hmm.
And that's been a big part of my recovery.
Wow.
And I was born on January 29th. So, so I named my practice Wellness 129.
So Wellness 129. All right,
Yeah.
we'll not forget that one. You have a brick and mortar clinic in
Yeah.
Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love what I do with my one-on-one clients, and yeah, it's very fulfilling. But I know that this message has to get out to more people, that if you can combine the best of conventional and natural medicine, there's so much healing that can happen. I am in the midst of creating online programs to take what I do in my practice and make it available for people, no matter where they live, that they can engage in the systems of healing and start to work with their bodies.
So you can, as a human being, what you're saying is that if we understand what to look for, if we understand the basics maybe of functional medicine, we can start essentially self-healing in a way, right?
I completely believe that.
Yeah.
When I was first injured, I had what I call my vitamin shop moment. I walked into the vitamin shop and I stood there in front of these walls of supplements and I thought, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Like I could make a case to take almost everything in here.
Right.
But what do I really need? And that's what people need guidance on. They need to know how to support the systems that are under stress and what's going to give them the most benefit. And leave the other stuff behind. Yeah, just focus on the things that are really going to help.
So if you could put up a billboard on one of the main interstates, 95, let's say, what would it say?
Awaken.
Awaken, that's true. So many
Yeah.
of us are living our lives kind of just mundane and just, not even conscious, right? Until something happens and then they wake up. And so much can be done prior to that to avoid
Yeah.
that. So the famous question that we ask on the proof stage is, in 3 words, what is your meaning of life?
Radiate divine love.
Can you explain that a little bit? Where does that come from? You're obviously very touched by that. It is very, very moving.
Yeah. So I believe that we are channels. And if we open to that love and allow that love into our life, it can flow through us. So touch my hand. There's more to this connection than just the physical touch. And I believe that you can connect into that divine love. And just like that can be spread to you, we have the ability to touch so many people. We just have to have that intention and that belief of possibility.